All right, welcome back, class, to chapter 7. Chapter 7 is going to be fairly quick and easy just because chapter 7 talks about reports, right? What is the most important thing about reports? Now, if you notice this in chapter 7, there are specific reports for specific people in the specific position that they are currently in the business. What the ultimate goal of reports does is it allows you to answer the necessary questions that you have about a business. So, for instance, I want to know what my profit and loss is. Well, right here, you have a little overview here, but if you want it written in a report format where it's on a piece of paper and it's got all the accounts and all that information, you are able to produce so every year at the end of the year usually, or there could be quarterly meetings depending on what the business is and how often you guys need to do your reports. You are required to run these reports either on a like a monthly frequency, or maybe you need to do it every quarterly, every annually, because ultimately what that does is, because the goal is every time we enter in data into QuickBooks, what we are doing is we're generating a similar idea of a data entry system, where the more we put more information that QuickBooks collects, it can produce reports and summaries for you with the click of a button. Okay? And the most important thing about those reports is, if you are looking into something that you are curious about the business, you are able to run reports for that. So again, it answers any questions that you have in regards about your business. So, but it's particular to the position that you are in. If you are in the sales position, right, you are looking into wanting to know how many sales that you have occurred over a time frame, right? But you wouldn't be curious over the payroll information, right? So that's why reports is sectioned off. If you notice, every single chapter that we have gone through, there's a small section in regards to reports, because it's tailored to answer the questions that you have within the position that you are currently in the business, right? If you are the accountant, your reports are going to be completely different than the ones that other positions are going to be needing, right? You don't need to have a sales, because in this case there are three important financial statements that accountants are required to produce. So again, like I mentioned, depending on how often your company meets together, the reason is so then they can get a projection of where your financial positioning is, right? Is my company doing well? Am I being profitable? Am I at a loss right now? What can I do to improve my sales? Do I need to spend more money and dedicate a section into more advertising? How can I entice my customers to want to buy my product? How do I entice my vendors to want to give me more products for me to sell to consumers? That is what your end goal is, and that's what QuickBooks does. Is the report section literally answers any questions that you have in regards to your business. So as I mentioned before, right, the last 3 weeks of entering all this information, you should be able to produce reports that remotely can give you the information that you need. Okay. Now, in this case, like I said, every single chapter we took a look, right? So for for chapter 3, which was the sales process, right? That's for sales, anybody who's in sales. Now, again, we also took a look at chapter 4, which is anybody who's in charge of expenses, so bills being paid, so accounts payable, okay? And again, and then of course we got the inventories for inventory managers, okay? So we just look at different types of aspects of a business, and what do these reports do? We've already seen what they do, but now we need to focus on what the main goal of the accountant is, okay, when they are running their reports. So there are two types of reports that we can choose: cash versus accrual basis. Now, if you remember from way back when in chapter 1, we talked about what the difference between cash basis versus accrual basis is. It literally shows you what the value of your company is currently at in terms of actually receiving cash versus having an accrual basis where you're only recording what you've earned and what you have incurred, okay? So in this case, when we switch between cash versus accrual basis types of reports, this is going to allow you to see how much cash actually flowed into your business and how much cash actually flowed out of your business versus the accrual basis where you record income, whether you received cash or not, and you recorded it as you earned it. So that means once you sold the product, you sold the product, whether or not you received cash or not. So that's the important rule there. And you record your expenses as soon as you receive a bill because the job has been completed. But whether or not you paid or not doesn't matter. So when you are looking at reports, you're going to notice that at the top of your menu, you're going to see that you do have the options to switch from cash basis to accrual basis, okay? So that gives you easy flexibility to switch from a cash basis report to an accrual basis. So you can actually see how much money actually came through into the business versus, theoretical, right? Now, in this case, you are also able to toggle between the settings in the gear icon, right, to switch between a cash basis type of business versus an accrual basis types of business, right? So you're only recording when cash is received versus recording when it's been earned. But like I said, for easy visibility when you're running reports, you have the easiest accessibility to switch and toggle between the two types of different forms, so you don't have to keep going to settings and switch it back and forth, right? You can view it both ways. Okay? So now we want to, again, look at what an accountant's position is. So right now you are the bookkeeper / accountant, right? You are not the sales representative. You are not in charge of accounts payable. You are in charge of financial statements, okay? That is being the accountant and bookkeeper. You're in charge of producing these 3 types of financial statements, okay? So these are the core ones that pretty much tell you pretty much an overview of where your business is standing at. So number 1 is going to be your balance sheet. Your balance sheet literally tells you what your business is and what it's net worth of the business because it tests the accounting equation, right? Does your assets equal the liabilities plus your equity? Okay? We also know this accounting formula as equity equal assets minus liability. But in this case, the accounting equation is going to be, right, everything that you own should be equivalent to everything that you owe plus your original investment into your company. So this is going to tell you what your net worth is according to your balance sheet information. Okay, so we're going to be looking at your ledger accounts, right? So if you remember, everything that's in your chart of accounts, we're dividing it amongst what you own, what you owe, and what you originally invest into the company. And that's going to be the ultimate goal of your balance sheet. Okay. Now we're testing to make sure that this balance sheet or this accounting equation holds true at all times. Okay. Then the next one's going to be profit and loss. This one's straightforward, right? It's to analyze the profitability of your company over a period of time. So the question is, right? We're going to be breaking down all of your revenues and all of your expenses, and we're going to determine whether we got a net income or a net loss. So that means we're going to see, did we generate enough money to cover all of the expenses that we had to incur in order to operate your business? So that means we're going to take a look at, did we earn more money than we spent, or did we spend more money than we earned? Okay, so in this way, we're going to take a look at every single income that we've earned, and we're going to counter them over every single expense that we incurred. So including your cost of goods sold, including all your operating expenses, such as advertising, all of it, okay? So that's where you're going to determine, right, whether you got a net income or a net loss. Now, this right here, this profit and loss does get converted into your equity at the end of the year. So that's why it's crucial that you understand where this net income and net loss comes from, okay? Because this ultimately is going to determine whether you're going to reinvest the profits back into the company, or you're going to pocket that, as if you are the owner, right? You get to pocket it. But if you are a corporation, do you choose to disperse those profits amongst your shareholders? Okay, so that will be the decision, and we'll talk about that in chapter 11 when we close out our books. But the most key important is, what do you do with that profit? If you generated more money at the end of the accounting period, are you going to choose to reinvest that money, or are you going to choose to pocket that money? Now, if you have a net loss where you spent more money than you earned, then you're going to automatically take that out of your equity, because, again, you, the owner, does not pay for a loss. The business pays for the loss. Okay? So, again, that is the profit and loss to let us know, am I profitable? Am I making enough money to cover all of my expenses? That is the key overall conclusion of running a profit and loss. Okay? And of course, the statement of cash flows literally takes a look at all the money that you have been earning, and basically takes it from an accrual basis to a cash basis type of business, where we want to know where the money flowed into the business and where the money flowed out of the business. So it is a combination between the profit and loss and balance sheet, because it's going to say, well, where did the money all go, right? Now, in this case, we're looking at actual physical cash, right? That's why it's called the statement of cash flows, because we need to know, where did the money actually go? So this is where we're going to be taking into consideration, right? Where we're taking all of our accrual types of accounts. So accounts receivable, right? Is that money we actually earned? No, because our customers still owe us, right? So we're going to take into consideration of actual cash that actually flowed into the business, okay? So that's the most important thing there, okay? All right. So now that we talked about the three important types of reports here, let's go ahead and take a look at an example of what kind of profits and loss we can take a look here. So the first one we want to do is the standard profit and loss statement. Okay, and we're going to take an example of what it looks like when we toggle between the different bases. So we're going to go to the report center to the left navigation bar here. Well, that's projects, reports. Hopefully today the report center will work for me. All right, so here we are. Now, as you can see, we have favorites, right? This is very, very easy to do. If there's something that's a common report that you like to do, all you have to do is just click on that green star and it will bring it right at the top of the page of the window for you, okay? You can also collapse your lists so you don't necessarily need to see every single list here, okay? But in this case, under my favorites, I already have the profit and loss. So all I have to do is just click on them and my report should be created. Okay, so good. So there you go. Now in this case, right, this is my profit and loss. But let's take a look at the title of my title here. It says Imagine Photography, November 2022, Profit and Loss, January 1st to December 12th, okay? Maybe I don't want to see all the way up to today's date. So what can you do to customize it? So that's where at the top of the window here, you can go ahead and customize them between what time frames that you're looking for. So in this case, I could do all dates. I could create a custom one, a last in 30 days. That's going to give me 0. This week, this fiscal year, and so on and so forth. In this case, I'm going to go ahead and create a custom one where I just only want to look at sales information as of January 1st of 2022 all the way to January 31st. So I only want to see one whole month of projections. And once I've made that time frame here, I always need to reset it because then it will refresh the information here. Now, of course, let's see. Right now, I'm currently on the accrual basis. Okay. This is my profit and loss that I've made so far. So in the month of January, I've earned $6,296 worth of income. And I end up spending $2,000. Oh, wait, hold on. No, that's cost of goods sold. I end up spending $13,774.33. That is a lot of expenses. So therefore, I'm at a loss. As in, I did not generate enough money for spending all this money that I spent for the month of January. So in this case, this is a net loss. Okay? As you can see, it's negative $10,000. That means I spent way too much money on operating my business. As you can see, we got a $7,000 for salaries and wages expense, right? We got $1,500 on rent. So there's a lot of things that we spent for this, okay? And that's why our results came out to be a total of negative $10,000. Now, what if I run in a cash basis type of report? So in this case, we're looking at how much cash we actually spent, okay, versus the accrual where we are looking at imaginary accounts where we earned income even though we didn't receive any money, right? In this case, we're going to look at income where we actually receive payments from our customers. So in this case, right, if I run that report, I still get $2,431 opposed to $2,600, right? And in this case, I actually spent, let's see what my total expenses are. I still spent $13,724, right? Because we still paid our employees. We still paid the rent, right? We made a rent payment to, I think it was Dan Con. We made our payments. We wrote checks to them. So therefore, we are still at a negative $12,000 loss, okay? So in this case, we're looking at actual money that came into the business and actual money that came out. So in this case, we're looking at how much money we actually earned from our sales and how much money we actually spent, okay, by writing our checks and stuff. So in this case, our profit and loss for the time frame of January is at a negative, right? Now, what if I decide to do all dates? Okay, so that means I'm going to do that and I want it on a accrual basis, right? Let's see what my profits are. So I'm at a negative 8,000. So I'm including everything that I've done so far, okay? So that's what this report tells you. Now, I can even section them off based on viewing what I want to see. Do I want to see them line to line as a monthly status? So I could see 12 reports all in one to see my monthly reports on like from January to February to March to April. I can view it that way as well. I can even take a look at whether I have any active accounts or not. So that's what's cool over there too. And you can even select the period. So in this case, like what's the time frame? So in this case, that is what you can do here, right? So that's just the profit and loss, the standard one that takes a look at overall of everything that I've looked there. I can even do a profit and loss by class. So if you remember, we did class, right, where we sectioned off our classes by whether we did either admin cost, overhead cost, or whether we did store cost. So I'm able to run that. Now, I have to be able to find that type of report. So in this case, it's most likely going to be a business overview. Okay, so we're going to look at profit and loss. So here, profit and loss, right here, comparison, profit and loss detail, profit and loss year to date, profit and loss by class. So again, you have, when you go through all of this, they do section off your profit and loss based on the different categories. So I have profit and loss based on classes, right? I have based on customers, based on locations, and we'll take a look at the locations in a second. So let's do class first, okay? So by doing it by class, this is where it sections it off for you. How much money did you earn from overhead and what did you spent through overhead, okay? So in this case, we already can see that right here, we spent too much money in overhead. Now for our second one, which is the store, this is where we actually profited through our income versus our expenses from the store. And the last one right here, this admin here, was for the negative $112. Okay, so that is for admin costs. But you could see here it breaks down the information for you based on classes. So you could see which area of your business is actually more profitable, right? So for example, if you have Pepsi Cola, right, who has 3, 4, 5 divisions, right? They have their main line of business, which is their soda beverage, right? They also have a tea business, a juice business, and a water business, right? You can run a report based on those areas of a business. So that's a line of business, right? And you're going to see that you can see where your numbers are profiting the most in. So most likely, obviously, right, we know Pepsi Cola is very popular for their soft beverages and drinks, right? So they're probably going to have the higher profitability in the soda business versus any other department, right? But again, you can also see the projections of how much money you're spending or how much money you've earned from all the other departments. So again, your tea part of the business, your water part of the business, your juice, okay? Maybe your sports drinks, right? You can divide your line of business based on those different types of sections there and be able to see whether you're profitable. Here, so right here, I'm going to go ahead and toggle this, and I want to go ahead and take a look at locations, right? I want to know, is my San Jose versus my Walnut Creek, which one's more profitable? So in this case, taking a look here, right, the first column is going to be overhead, but in this case, overhead applies to both of the stores. So here we want to look at San Jose versus Walnut Creek. So in this case, in comparison, right, if I run my profit and loss, I have a profit of $1,178 in San Jose, and then I have a profit of $1,969 in Walnut Creek. So right here, I can already see that Walnut Creek is doing a little better than my San Jose location. Okay, so that's what you can do here with the information. It's a very powerful tool that you can toggle your reports by. Okay. So again, you have all of those options here. So whether you do monthly reports or whether you do yearly reports, or if you want to split them up based on criteria, you could do it by customer, by vendor. So I can see what my profit and loss is for my my customers and vendors, and et cetera, right? There you go. Okay. Now I can even do a report also based if I want to see cash or not. So if I wanted to do that or not, okay? So the next one we're going to look at is your balance sheet. So we're going to see what my balance sheet is for this year to see how much my total assets are, what's my net worth of my current business right now. So I'm going to click here, and right at the top of my window, I should have the balance sheet information. So I'm going to go ahead and click balance sheet. And right now it is toggled for, I'm going to put all dates. Okay, and I'm going to run it as the accrual basis. So once again, the balance sheet takes an overview of all of your assets and compares them to all of your liabilities and revenues. So right now, I currently have total assets of $77,000 worth of assets, right? And here, let's take a look at all of my liabilities. So in this case, the only liabilities that I really have here are going to be the liabilities, total long-term liabilities. So total liabilities, I have $30,000 worth of liabilities. And of course, I have a total of $47,000 worth of equity, right? Because this one right here already includes my current net loss, right, for the accounting period. So in this case, right now, from my very first one, my profit and loss, right now I spent too much money than I've earned. So in this case, it takes that into consideration here, where I'm at 47,000 of my equity. Okay. Now, if I add my values up together, right, my total assets does equal my total liabilities here. So this is where you're sectioning off of the part of your business to see how much money you, or not how much money, but how much that you own. So whether it's cash in the bank, whether it's how much money you own in inventory, right? Any patents, any licenses like that. And then you're also going to take a look at all the loans that you have. So right here you have everything that you owe, such as payroll expenses and your sales tax expense, or sorry, sales tax payables, and your loan, your truck loan, right? So again, a lot of things that you get to see from your chart of accounts put into a report form. Okay. Now, of course, other things that I want to talk about here is you have the ability to be able to have options to export your reports. Okay, so as you can see right here down below in this little section here where in gray, here you can send an email. Okay, you can even print it out. Okay, so if I actually click print, what's going to happen is it's going to take you to this section where you have the option Do you want to print it out, a copy of it? This is what it looks like, okay? You can even export it, okay? So here I have a little drop-down menu. What are the options that you can do for exporting? You can export it to Excel or you can export it to PDF, okay? And of course, this gear icon here also allows you to further customize this report, okay? So you do have the feasibility of, further customizing, and we'll talk more about that in a few minutes, okay? All right? So there's that balance sheet. And then again, statement of cash flows is pretty straightforward. You're just going to select it and pick the time frame to see what your cash flows is. Now, your cash flows is going to be split into 3 sections, which is going to be your operating activities, your investing activities, and your financing activities, right? And what that does is it basically follows the line of cash flow, right? How much actually was used during operations, how much was used for investing, and how much was used for financing. So in this case, right, when we go through the accounting program, we'll go more into detail of what those activities mean. But operating is basically your sales, right? Did you purchase inventory? Did you sell your inventory, right? It's usually splitting your balance sheet based on current assets, other assets, and current liabilities, okay? So anything that has to do that with accounts payable, right? Where your investing activities is more for, did you invest into your company in terms of buying fixed assets, okay? And then financing activities is, did you put in any money of your own money into, did you invest your own money into your business through equity? Did you take any loans out to finance your business? Okay, so those are the activities, and basically what you're doing is you're comparing your cash flows of what you began with to what you are currently at the end of the accounting period. Okay, so that's the statement of cash flows. Okay. So other ones I want to show you as an accountant is you should also know how to run a general ledger report, okay? So in this case, right, let's take a look at what other accounting reports you can do here, right? So if I actually go ahead and scroll down, I should have a section called For My Accountant. Okay, so here it is, For My Accountant. And what this does is this is for, again, your accountants. If they want to run anything such as an account list, right? So this can tell you whether or not you have the appropriate accounts. You can filter out the information for the account so you can determine whether this is a duplicate account, XYZ. So if I go ahead and run my accounts, I can see, right, if I use my gear icon, I can toggle whether I could see inactive accounts or not, or things like that. Okay, ones that have in-account information and so on and so forth. Okay, so in this case, that's what you can do, is further customizing your reports. Like you can even turn on certain sections off of this. So in this case, I have the account name on there. I have the type in there. I have the date. I also have the balance information as well as description. What if I don't need a description, right? Then I can hide that off of my report just like that. So it took off the description here. Right? So again, you could further customize it that way. Or another thing too is this is the standard of what the report's going to look like. But if you want to change the way it looks, change the columns, change the color scheme, that's where you're going to further export it to Excel to be able to do those extra customizations, okay? Here, you are only viewing the report like this. Very bland, very standard, very straightforward. But again, as a company, right, you also want to pride on creating your reports with the respective company colors, right, especially when you're doing your annual reports, okay, when you have to go through that board meeting, right, to give an analysis of where your company's standing at. Then maybe, if you're going to be printing these out and you want them to be specialed in color, or you want to add a company logo to this, that's where further customization is going to be through exporting it to Excel. Okay? But if you're just going to just download this as a PDF, this is what the format's going to look like. It's just going to be black and white, straightforward, with all the information that you need. Okay? So that is that one, and then that's going to be your account list, right? We also talked about the general ledger. So the general ledger is more or less similar to the account list, but the general ledger basically lists out all of your account information and what the balance are for each and every single one, and so on and so forth, okay? And again, that is and it's going to give you all the account information too. As you can see, you could collapse certain sections. So for example, checking 1025, if I go ahead and drop that down, it's going to tell me what other things belong under my checking. So I got money market, I got the beginning balances, and so on and so forth. Okay, so that is under that section here. Okay, and I can even collapse my information just by going like that. So in this case, if I click on checking 1025 will give me my beginning balance, excuse me. So then again, it gives you just more details of what your ledgers entail in terms of beginning balances and so on and so forth. Okay. Other ones that's most important here is this is also in regards to chapter 12 when setting up your company, right? What is that one thing that you needed to have when you are setting up your company file if you are a pre-existing company, right? And that was the trial balance. How do you get a trial balance? So that is where we can go ahead and get a overview of the trial balance, which gives us our total debit and credit information. And that will allow us, so when we open up when we start our company file, what can we do to set our opening balances? That's where you're going to do your journal entry, right? And put in the appropriate debits in the appropriate accounts. Okay? So that's going to be trial balance. Okay? Trial balance. Okay, so that's going to give you your whole debit and credit information here. Okay, so when you do your journal entry, you can plug in the appropriate debits in the appropriate columns and the appropriate credits in the appropriate accounts. Okay, so you can have your account balance at all times. Now again, remember, in chapter 12, they tell you can open every single account balance. The only ones that you have to refrain from entering is your accounts receivable and accounts payable accounts. Okay, so if you remember from chapter 5, we opened up our checking account and we end up putting in our account balances through a journal. Okay, so that's what you can do here, right? Okay, now those are, again, accounting reports. So again, there are two different types of reports that are in QuickBooks, right? You got your accounting and then you have your business management reports. So now that we talked about the accounting reports that deal with just the accounts itself, okay? Business management reports are straightforward. We've been looking at all of the examples of business management reports. So what they do is they help manage the business, right? So these will include every single chapter that we've gone through. So the sales section, right? The expenses section, the bills, your customer information, your vendor information, your employee information. All of those are going to be business management types of reports, which include anything that involves with the business. And what you can do with these reports is, can you make executive decisions off of these reports? So again, if I take a look at my sales, what can I do to improve my sales, right? So that is what business management does, is it takes an overview of what reports that can help the business and understand what they can do. So again, a sales report will be considered a business management, okay? Which includes products and services, right? Those are not accounts. So that's why they're not accounting reports. Accounting reports are going to be anything that you can derive from your chart of accounts, okay? Business management is going to be everything other than that. So again, you could take a look at your customer's contact list, right? You can even take a look at your vendor's contact list, employee contact list, products and services list, classes and locations list, right? And all of those are usually going to be intertwined within the either, you just kind of look at the sections. So in this case, business management, right, is going to show you mostly accounting reports here. But if I go to who owes you are going to be your vendors, right? This is where you're going to be looking at accounts payable reports, okay? Who owes you? You're looking at customers, right? You're looking at customer reports. You're looking at invoices. You're looking at, information like that, where if you go to sales and customers, this is where you're actually looking at your sales reports. So again, we took a look at that in chapter 3. So again, that's what you're going to find most of your reports is based off of the criteria. So again, customers, that's where you'll find the customer contact list here. Okay. So right here, customer contact list, and so on and so forth. So they are pretty much separated in those things. Now, another way for you to be able to access all of these reports is you can search them up as well. So instead of having to go through the process of searching everything, I can just type it all in here, and whatever shows up, shows up. So there's only a very limited amount of reports you can do, okay? So you could just type it in here and it will search up what you are looking for. So you don't have to necessarily go through the sections just to look for something, right? You can just simply look it up. But the idea is the Reports Center makes it very easy and feasible for you to access your reports pretty quickly by looking at what topic you're looking for, okay? And they section it off based on the position that you are in the company, right? So for instance, I want payroll information and I can look that up, okay? And so on and so forth. So I'm not going to do any examples here just because, again, it's pretty self-explanatory, okay? And we already talked about customizing them, okay? And that is it for chapter 7, okay? Like I said, it's pretty self-explanatory. I already went through customization. I went through what you can do with them, and so on and so forth. So again, there's not that many reports that you can do for these types of sections, but we do outline the most important ones or the most common ones that you normally see for the different positions that you are. So again, business management is based off of a company's position, right? Where the accounting one is based off of the chart of accounts, okay? So any questions in regards to chapter 7? Any questions to chapter 7? Okay, no? All right, then let's go ahead and go over the review questions here for chapter 7. Okay, so QuickBooks chapter 7 here. Let me just confirm that reports. So again, in your book, if chapter 7 and chapter 6 are switched over, it's pretty straightforward, right? As long as you're in the reports section, right? So let's take a look at the multiple choice. So your job is to choose the best answers for each of the following, okay? Number 1, okay? What are the 2 major types of reports in QuickBooks Online? The balance sheet and profit and loss. Now we're talking about types of reports. Types, not the balance sheet and profit and loss belongs to one of the 2 types. So D is definitely not the right answer. So what are the 2 types? I just mentioned it earlier.
Cash and accrual?
That is the basis you can run your reports on.
Is it A?
No. It's going to be accounting and business management. I just mentioned this, right? Business management, it helps you make management decisions, right? So, for example, sales reports. Where accounting reports are based off of things that you can create from a chart of accounts. Okay, so letter C, accounting and business management reports. Okay, so again, letter C. Right? So remember, profit and loss, right? And balance sheet information derived directly from the chart of accounts, right? So these types are belongs to the accounting reports. Okay. Number 2, use the customize button on any report to A is correct. Add or delete columns on any filters or on a report. Good. Okay. Number 3. Okay. You cannot create quick reports for. Because you had to do your reading for this one.
Is it A?
You definitely can do quick reports for chart of account items. Yes, you can. D, customers. Yes. For people, you cannot do quick reports, right? The only types of quick reports you can do for that is doing like a quick overview or looking at account balances, right, for each of the customers, but you cannot do a quick report on them. So in your book, you should have read that there are you can only do it on accounts, on items, and lists. Okay, so in this case, no people. So D, you cannot create a quick report for customers. Okay. Number 4, okay, to create a report that lists each of your vendors along with their addresses and telephone information. What type of report would you run? Yes, a vendor contact list. So again, I did not show you an example, but in this case, if you go back into the PowerPoint, you run that customer contact list, it should give you the customer's name, their address, their telephone number, all that information, right? It's their contact list. Okay? So A is correct. Number 5, in order to analyze the profitability of your company, you should, so again, keyword profitability.
B.
B, create a profit and loss report. Correct. Okay, number 6, what statement is false? You may analyze your income and expenses for a given period.
Is it C?
Yes, see, you won't be able to create one based on customer location, right? Because in this case, there is no section that you can designate to go based off of customer location, right? It's usually based off of the class, the locations, the customer itself, but not for customer location, right? That's going to be very difficult to do. Okay? All right. Number 7. Okay? Which report which report shows monies owed to your company by customer?
B.
B is correct. The collections report. So again, you had to do your reading here, but in this case, that's pretty self-explanatory as well. The balance sheet, it's obviously not going to tell you what customers owe you. The accounts payable aging report, accounts payable is what you owe to other vendors. And here, the customer's contact list only tells you the information based on the customers, not what they owe you. So in this case, if you did process of elimination, your correct answer would be B. Okay. Number 8, in order to modify the header and footer of your report, D, right? You're going to go through with the click on the customize button and then scroll down to the header and footer. So in this case, you can customize the header and footer directly. So if I were to go to, for example, let's go to trying to find one here. Let's go to terms list, right? If I want to make changes to the title, I can just click right directly into it and just type over it. Okay? So yes, you can customize headers and footers if you would like by just simply clicking on the title and typing over it. Okay? All right, number 9. Okay, creating reports groups allows you to
C.
share reports with others in your company. No.
B.
B, allows you to organize the custom reports list into groups or of related reports. Yes, so I didn't show you that, but if you were to create your custom group, right? So if you take a look here in your right, you could do custom reports, or you can do management reports. So basically, you can separate them based on certain criterias. Okay, so that's where that section is. But in this case, I prefer you guys to just use the favorites menu because again, you could group your reports that way as well. But yes, you can go ahead and do grouping there. Okay. Number 10, the profit and loss report shows which of the following?
C.
Okay, let's see. Number 10, correct. C. It's going to be all of your income versus all of your expenses, which includes cost of goods sold, expenses, and other income and other expenses. Yes. So again, yes. Okay. Number 11. Okay, if the profit and loss by class reports has a not specified column,
Is it B?
you must refresh the report. No. If there's an item on the list that isn't in one of the columns that are classified, what does it mean? That's what it's asking you. Okay? If your profit and loss by class reports has a not specified column, what does that mean?
Okay, it's a C.
No. It is not C. You shouldn't eliminate. No, you can't. Well, I mean, you can eliminate for the column, but that's not the purpose. The purpose here is D. That just means you just didn't classify one of those items.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So if there's a not specified, it just means you didn't classify it.
Okay.
Okay. Number 12. You can export reports to.
A.
Yes. In this case, you can 100% export to Microsoft Excel. Okay? You won't be able to do Microsoft Word because once again, everything's going to be in a form of a list or a chart. So in this case, Word doesn't build those charts for you. Other accounting softwares, no. Unfortunately, you cannot export to any other accounting software, right? In this case, because what's the purpose of having QuickBooks if you're exporting to Peachtree or SAP or whatever it is that your other accounting software that you use, right? In this case, no. You won't be able to export it to other accounting softwares, but you can do PDF, right? Adobe PDF, and you can do Microsoft Excel. Okay. Number 13, which is a feature of the Filters tab on the Customize window. So again,
Would it be A?
filters allow you to select the columns on a report so that you can analyze specific areas of your business. No, that's not what the filter does.
C.
C, filters allow you to choose specific accounts, names, or products. So in this case, the A is for the settings icon, right? Remember that you can choose to customize whether you want to have certain columns appear or not. That's not the same thing as the filter tab. So the filter tab allows you to go by specific people, by specific criterias. Okay, so in this case, C is the correct answer. Number 14, okay, to modify which columns are displayed on reports, click customize and then go to
A?
for number 14. The header footer section, no. That does that affect your columns, your headers and footers?
No. Okay.
B, right? Change the columns link in the rows and columns section. So again, we're looking at this gear icon. Oop, let me do another report then. Let's do customer contact list, customer balance, customer reports. That will be under sales and customers. Let's do the customer contact list. Okay. Okay, so if I were to click on customize, right, it gives you all this information here, right? But you could also be able to customize your window by going to that little gear icon, like I mentioned earlier. So in this case, I have to click here. And then this will allow you to display, right? Display your columns, right, under change columns. So this is where it's also taking a look at right here, is this part right here. Okay, so change columns. And you can choose to have them on and choose to have them off. Okay. All right, and then last but not least, question 15. Okay, the print dialog box features does not. So A and B are those, and then C and D.
Is it A?
Let's see. A, it allows you to print to PDF. You're saying that the print doesn't give you that option to? It doesn't allow you to print to PDF?
Okay, it does allow you to print to PDF.
It does allow
Okay.
you. Yes, so good. So we're looking at what does the print dialog feature do not do? So yes, it prints to PDF. What else does it do?
See?
Yes, it doesn't look the same on every computer. This is a weird question, in my opinion, but in this case, that's going to be true to anybody who prints anything. Everybody's computer is going to be different from each other, right? I could be on a Mac. I could be on a Windows, right? A Google Chromebook. It's all going to look different because they're all different softwares or different different computers, right? So in this case, because you're working on an online application, yes, you're more than welcome to access all of those at different computers, but at the end of the day, they all are not going to have the same settings, the same features, the same outputs. So in this case, C would be your correct answer. It's not going to look the same on every single computer. Okay? All right. And that concludes chapter 7. Any questions?